All right, brilliant. Thank you very much. Hopefully the sharing of screens and everything has worked out well and you can all see the presentation. Let me know if not, otherwise I shall carry on. Yeah, welcome everyone and thank you very much for joining me. My name is Ben. I am business manager with DigVentures, but also very much an archaeologist with a firm interest in the Roman period. Over the summer months, I managed to get out of the office and help deliver our community fieldwork projects, one of which is the Romans of East Yorkshire. As Francis said, the project is now entering its 10th year, and I've been lucky enough to lead it for the last 4 years. So I'm very much looking forward to telling you a bit about the project today, and I hope you enjoy the talk. So just a quick run through of what I'll go through today. So I'll start off with a little bit about who we are and what we do, and then I'll move on to our project background, a little run through the trenches for some context for the finds that I'll show, then we'll look at some of the finds, I'll kind of sum up, wrap up towards the end, and then let you know a little bit about how you can get involved or find out more should you wish to. Okay then, so DigVentures, we launched in 2012 as a social enterprise and we use crowd-based methods to enable real people to take part in real research. So we're a team of about 15 people spread across the UK and Ireland, with public participants joining us from all over the world. We work on a number of digital and in-person engagement projects all throughout the year, focusing on archaeology, heritage, and nature recovery. And in the summer months, part of our team are out in the field with our crowd-funded community participants, affectionately known as our venturers, digging on site. And I am, lucky enough to be part of the team that works with our amazing crowd. Our big focus in it is community archaeology. Our crowd-funded community archaeology model means that we can fund and carry out archaeological research at the same time as creating a positive social impact for the people who take part. So we have people from all over the world who contribute to come and fund the dig, come along, help make the dig happen in person. And one of those projects is the Romans of East Yorkshire. So a little bit of project background. So where the site is. So we have to be a little bit sensitive about the exact location of the site to protect it from illegal metal detecting, which has unfortunately been an issue in the past. But generally, the project area focuses on about 500 hectares of arable farmland on the eastern dip slope of the Yorkshire Wolds, near the town of Driffield, and it surrounds the headwater springs of Driffield Beck, which ultimately feeds through to River Hull and out into the Humber. So that kind of neck of the woods just east of the Yorkshire Wolds. The project started in 2017 after the site was brought to our attention by two metal detectorists who introduced us to the landowners. And the site itself, the farm, has multiple phases of historic land use in different periods. There are two known prehistoric barrows, numerous find spots, Neolithic, Bronze Age, Iron Age, all the way through to Roman, found through field walking and metal detecting. There's a number of Roman settlements, which have been the main focus of our excavations. And then finally, there's not one, but two deserted medieval villages in the landscape as well. So why a bit of context for the project? So with such a complex and multi-phase chronology known through the find spots, the field walking and metal detecting over the years, we wanted to contextualize these artifacts by understanding any associated archaeological remains. And you can find a lot more about our project background and research design and questions and names on our website. So with all that in mind, we launched our crowd-funded community project in 2017, and let's have a look at some of our trenches and what we found. So the first 2nd century settlement in August 2018, we opened our first trench looking at the Romans of East Yorkshire. And there's some of our very first venturers who joined the project, waving at us and showing us their lovely cleaning skills in the trench. So looking at the trench itself, this is a little trench plan. This is how it looked on site in 2021 after about 3 seasons of excavation. The trench was first opened in 2018 to contextualize a late 1st century denarius coin hoard. And the trench moved and expanded over the years to kind of the current shape that you see on the screen there. What did we find within it? Well, got multiple phases of structure recorded, including sort of stone footings, timber beam slots, post holes. There's also lots of boundary ditches and rubbish pits, all of different phases. There are also some burials that were excavated, a total of 4 neonatal burials, which some of which seem to be in close association with some of the timber structures that we've excavated, and one of which was buried with a penannular brooch. So that's a little bit about the first to 2nd century settlement. Moving on now to the 2nd to 3rd century ladder settlement. So after the end of our 2022 season, we felt that we had contextualized the 1st to 2nd century activity. We were ready to look at some of the other parts of the local landscape, piece together the wider settlement chronology. So in 2023, we moved our excavations to another field a few hundred meters to the south of where we were, where we'd had a few very good aerial crop marks that indicated there was another settlement. And there's a little picture of some of us highlighting out one of the buildings in our trenches. And here's an overhead view of our trench from that year. So we excavated 2 phases of kind of a long timber post-built structure, which you can see running through the middle of the trench there. There are also 4 large rubbish pits and a drainage ditch. And from the crop marks, it looks like the building could have extended up to as much as 20 meters long outside the southern end of the trench in total. And it also had a small partition wall inside as well. And from kind of our excavations, what we found and artifacts looks like it had multiple uses in domestic and agricultural context. There weren't much in the way of finds out of the post holes themselves, but there are lots of domestic waste coming out of the rubbish pits and the ditches alongside, most of which dating to the 2nd to 3rd century. Then in 2024, we moved into excavating our 4th century settlement. We decided to investigate a part of the farm that had produced possible religious artifacts in a small dig that was carried out in the 1950s to try and contextualize them. Some recent metal detecting had also produced a density of artifacts from this location, including quite a lot of 4th century coins. So we decided that we'd excavate our trench over a raised platform right near the beck, the water source, to see if this could be anything at all to do with a religious site. And then moving on to the next slide, we'll see the trench and kind of roughly what we found. So in this trench, we had a couple of possible structures. We've got some stone foundations of a square room and building, and there was a possible roundhouse found as well. Lots of ditches and gullies of different phases, the latest of which seems to have been 4th century in date. Included in with this trench as well, there do seem to have been a number of possible votive deposits that we'll come to look at in a little bit. So yeah, that's kind of a quick run through of the trenches themselves, what we were digging, what we were targeting, just to provide a little bit of context for some of the finds, which we will come on and have a little look at next. So the finds themselves, there's of course too many to do them all justice in this talk, but I've selected a few in the following slides that kind of are important for helping us to understand what might have been happening at the site. We'll take a look at some of the metalwork, some of the pottery, and also some of those possible votive deposits that I was mentioning as well in particular. So starting off with, let's have a look at some of the metalwork. So here we've got a few of the brooches that we found. So I'll kind of run through what we've got and where we found them. So top left, we've got 2 brooches kind of clasped together, one of which is a Colchester derivative brooch dating to around about the 1st century, also with an enamelled head stud brooch dating to the 2nd century. They were both found clasped together in a rubbish pit in that trench that we were excavating between 2021 and 2022. Then at the top right, we've got that penannular brooch that I was saying was with our neonatal burial. And then on the bottom left of the screen, we've got a 4th century crossbow brooch. And next to that, we've got late 1st to mid 2nd century enameled head stud brooch. The bottom two there, they came out of our excavations in 2024. Interesting kind of way that they're used. Either these 4th century ones, our specialist tells us, was either in a kind of a military or an administrative context. We haven't found anything to suggest military on site so far. So perhaps we're looking more of a sort of a local, possible administrative function for some of what we've been finding in this part of the site. So moving on to the next slide, some of the other metal work we've got. At the top, we've got an iron stylus. And then next to that, on the right, we've got a tinned copper alloy spoon. Both of them, again, came out of our 2024 excavations. Below that, we've got on the bottom left, an iron hook or hinge. Next to that, going left to right, we've got a chisel, cold chisel or punch. And then next to that, we've got fragment of finger ring. And then to the right, a copper alloy stud that may have been used as a decorative mount on a box. That one was found in a fill of a very large pit that was dated to the 2nd century. So the stud that came out of our 2021 excavation, and the hook and the chisel were in our 2023 excavation when we're looking at the ladder settlement. So yeah, so a few nice finds to kind of just show us a bit about what was going on in that both domestic context and also the status of some of those finds as well with the brooches too. Moving on to some of the pottery. So the pottery assemblage in particular was quite interesting for a rural site. It included a lot of late 1st to 2nd century Roman wheel-thrown pottery, likely made at the kilns at York or Malton that had supplied the military. So this is suggesting that this, what might be kind of look like a small rural settlement, is actually very well connected. Also, there's a lot of imported pottery as well. So we've got amphora and Samian coming along through as well. Nearly 9,000 sherds of pottery in total so far from our excavations. A lot of it is really well preserved, some of which with refitting fragments as well. So yeah, all this is suggesting that it's quite well connected, standing apart from other local rural settlements in the area of the same period. And the fact that no military artifacts seem to have been recovered from our site, suggesting that maybe we've got some sort of important local administrative function in the area in this period. Then in looking at our votive deposit, so in 2024, we had a number of artifacts that were possible votive offerings. So looking at the top left of your screen there, we've got a piece of animal bone and 3 coins. Now they were found all together. So we had 3 coins with that bone that you can see is also stained copper green. They were placed at the very top of a very small pit. So thinking there's possible votive offering, maybe coin and meat there. We also found 3 other pieces of copper stained animal bone over the site as well. So whilst they were not within context, they are also suggesting possibly that there are other similar deposits of that nature as well. We also, in the middle, you'll see the fragment of stone that we found that's possible carvings with letters on it. So we might have the I at the top and a V in the bottom. Very fragmentary, so it's difficult to tell for sure exactly if this definitely was inscription or what it said. But again, leaning towards that possibility of religious artifacts that were also discovered in the 1950s excavation, the small-scale dig that came across some carved altar fragments and other sculptured relief as well. And then on the right, we've got a complete intact 4th century beaker. This was found inverted in a small pit. kind of discreetly on its own. So similar, we've got the bone and the coins. We're in a small little discrete pit feature. Also, this inverted cup also was on its own little discrete pit as well. So that's some of our run through of our finds. Next, I'll show you some of our lovely community who actually helped us to find these. So we've got some of our venturers with their lovely finds, the amphora and some more pottery, all through the years of our excavations. Move it in the next slide as well. Here's a few more. So yeah, we've really got a good crowd, good solid group of people that will come back year and year, new faces as well, all of which are really helping us to unpack that story on the site. And yeah, just show us more about the Romans of East Yorkshire. So kind of to wrap up the talk a little bit, summing it all together, what can the finds tell us? Well, there seems to be near enough a continuous occupation in this landscape, right from the late 1st century through to the 4th centuries. And the site is really well connected by the looks of it, based on what we've been getting finds-wise, with access to supply from important nearby towns or forts, as well as internationally. Over time, the settlement seems to grow and expand around the beck, the water source, which again, that might suggest kind of the focal point of why all this settlement activity is kind of growing and expanding over time continuously. We've got this important water source that is one of the cleanest and first water sources that you get to east of the Yorkshire Wolds. And it's one of, I believe, it's a triple SI today as the most northerly chalk stream in the country. So it's clearly had quite an important function throughout history, and this may well be why we've got such a focus in this specific location. And ultimately, it could have been also explained why the Romans have come along to this location for so long, and yeah, possibly using it as a local administrative function near the water source, maybe to control it. And then later on, the water source may well have taken on a religious importance with some of those votive offerings that we've seen. And then finally, just to show you how you can find out more if you want to, or even get involved. We've got our project page on our website. You can find out the latest updates from our project, see our dig timeline, and learn more about the project background and what we've discovered. We've also got our site reports on our website as well. All of our annual site reports and project designs are all freely accessible and downloadable from our website, so you can get all the details that you want about our project. And also, if you want to get involved, follow the links on the screen there to look at our calendar, see ways that you might be able to get involved next year. Join our newsletter as well if you want to be kept up to date with what's going on in the DV world, and wider updates on our projects and discoveries as they happen. And if you do want to get in touch with me at all and talk about anything about the site, or anything indeed at all about what we do at DV, then feel free to get in touch with my email address there as well. And lastly, I would just like to thank a lot of people who have been, supporting us over the project, our lovely landowners and the metal detectorists I mentioned who made this happen. Of course, all the specialists who have been involved with our project, all of the assessment and analysis work that they have done is invaluable. We've got quite a wide project team, so I won't mention them all by name right now. If you're on this call, you know who you are, but you're all fully credited in our site reports if you want to see more about the specialist reports there too. And lastly, and most importantly, I'd like to thank our community, our crowdfunder community. Without them, none of this work would happen, none of our research would get to occur. And so it's all thanks to them that been able to have such a great insight into the Romans of East Yorkshire. And then finally, thank you all for listening. Hope you enjoyed the talk, and I'll hand back now in case we've got any questions.